The grand ballroom falls silent, then erupts in cheers. A voice rises above the rest. Here comes Lady Diorlos. Everyone turns, their cheeks flushing, whispers spread fast. Isn't Lady Diorlos over there? That's Louvetria Diorlos with her blonde hair. So who's this red-haired beauty? Did they get the names mixed up? The man stares in confusion, then realizes this stunning girl is Rubertria. For a moment, the entire hall freezes. Even Lilia, Ricky Diorlos the playboy, and Princess Lisbeth are speechless. Roberta, the real Rubertria, smiles. She loves this moment. Every stunned face is like a reward. One of Lilia's friends stammers, asking if that's really Rubertria. She walks up to them and greets the other ladies. One of them, Lady Pelican, can't believe it. Rubertria laughs softly and says, yes, it's her. She reminds Pelican of their last meeting at a dessert shop 2 years ago when Pelican mocked her for buying too many macarons. Back then, she couldn't defend herself. Now she just suggests they have tea sometime and talk properly. Pelican flushes in embarrassment and thanks her. Then someone points at Rubertria's dress. She casually explains it's from Madame Becky. The dressmaker personally sent it for her debut. Lilia turns pale. Everyone knows Madame Becky only makes one dress a year, and not even the princess can get one without waiting. Lilia had begged over and over, but was always rejected. Yet now, Rubertria is wearing one like it's nothing. Lilia's fury rises. Rubertria knows she's seething, but deep down she thanks Lilia and her mother. Their cruelty pushed her to this moment. People can smile and lie at the same time, and Lilia's smile is full of poison. Somewhere in the shadows, a hooded figure watches, hoping the spirit of wishes doesn't interfere. After all, this is the moment Rubertria, the real one, had longed for. Lilia steps forward, smiling sweetly, asking if Rubertria came alone. Of course, she wouldn't let the moment go, but just then, a new voice calls Rubertria's name. She turns, smiling. It's Kedric, his brown hair shining under the lights, blue eyes gentle. She greets him warmly. Yes, it's been a while. The crowd is still buzzing when he appears. Kedric Riser, the young duke. He's the one our girl has loved since childhood, the one she always followed from a distance. But before she can say a word, the blonde clings to his arm and throws a jab, asking if Rubertria really came alone and suggesting maybe Ricky could have been her date. Rubertria holds back her anger. Ricky? That guy doesn't even qualify to stand next to her. She lets out a soft laugh, thanks Lilia for her concern, and says her partner's status required them to arrive separately due to etiquette. The noble ladies protest, confused. One of them questions the idea. Etiquette? Really? Lilia's voice sharpens. Is she trying to use the rule about the host entering through a separate entrance? If she's claiming to be the host, that's just ridiculous. But then she's cut off. A squire steps forward and announces the arrival of Prince Lark van Lashma Deckard. The entire hall turns. Rubertria blinks. That's him, the true power behind the Deckard Empire. And he's walking straight toward her. He stops in front of her, takes her hand gently, and kisses the back of it. She smiles up at him, her heart full. This man, he's her business partner, but something's changed. He's fallen for her. He apologizes for making her enter alone. The room quiets as everyone watches the scene unfold. She feels the warmth of his hand and leans into it. In that moment, they shine. Her eyes flick to Lilia, who's burning with jealousy. The noble ladies are stunned. Even Kedric, the one who once played with her feelings, looks shaken. But Rubertria doesn't care. She sees it clearly now. From this moment on, she's not a shadow. She's the lead, the center of attention, the newest star of the Deckard Empire, and it feels amazing. 2 actors are locked in a dramatic fight scene when the camera zooms in on a stunning brunette. It's Juliet Karenina, the trending global celebrity. With a Korean mother and an English father, she's the kind of beauty the whole world talks about. Fame, love, envy, admiration, every emotion you can think of, she receives it daily. A staff member reminds her that her next schedule is a brand shoot. Juliet takes a seat and casually checks her phone. She smiles. The reviews are glowing. Life is perfect. Everything has always gone her way, until yesterday. That's when someone else woke up in her body. A few years back, Juliet had shocked the world by announcing her retirement and moving to Korea, her mother's homeland. She picked up a mic and told her fans she just wanted to live as Juliet the person, not Juliet the actress. After that, she started a new chapter, as an ex-tuber. It's the hot trend these days. Her channel blew up. 10 million subscribers in under a month, 2 billion won per single ad, she became the queen of daily content. Just as her second life was blooming, she came across a strange comment on one of her videos. It was from a red-haired girl, our main lead, Rubertria. The comment said Juliet was so beautiful, and she was jealous of her perfect life. Juliet found it a little odd, but thought maybe the girl was just a fan. But then she saw the part where Rubertria wrote she wanted to live as Juliet, even if it was just for a day, and that she wanted to end her own life. Juliet felt something was wrong. She called her manager right away and told them to check into it. That night, she went to bed with a heavy heart. That was all she did. The next morning, she hears someone calling her name, but this isn't her room. She looks around in panic. Was she kidnapped? Is this another threat? She grabs the sheets, heart racing, ready to fight if needed. But then, she sees a maid and a butler standing in the room. The maid seems confused by her reaction. The butler, a young man with brown hair and green eyes, adjusts his glasses and calmly asks if she remembers her name. Rubertria stands there, terrified, insisting that of course she does. She's Juliet. They don't even know the name of the person they kidnapped. The maid starts to sweat while the butler adjusts his glasses and says it must be memory loss from shock. Our girl stares at them. What are they even talking about? She's perfectly fine. Memory loss? Rubertria? Who's that? Wait, her hand. Something feels wrong. She quickly asks for a mirror. The moment she sees her reflection, she freezes. That's not her. This is someone else's face, someone else's body. She stumbles back in disbelief. Everything about her life is gone. Why is this happening? She slumps into a chair, frustrated, as the maid gently asks if she really doesn't remember anything. She explains Rubertria fell into a pond and only just woke up hours later, and they were all worried. Rubertria thinks to herself, yeah, she'd like to know what happened too. She turns to the maid and asks who she is. And where exactly are they? The maid replies, they're in the Deckard Empire. Our girl blanks out. Deckard? Isn't that a philosopher? But no, this isn't a joke. She's in the Deckard Empire. There are 4 major ducal families here, and she's now the only daughter of one of them. Louvetria Diorlos. She repeats the name slowly, pointing at herself. So she's this Rubertria? The maid nods and shakes her gently, reassuring her that it's fine and she'll explain everything again and again if needed. Our girl forces out a nervous laugh. Being the only daughter of a duke might not be the worst thing in the world. But just then, she hears someone at the door. That annoying blonde voice again. It's Lilia, complaining about why they even came to see her. Another voice agrees, saying she's still their niece, and they have to at least pretend to care or people will start talking. The maid sighs and fusses while our girl watches their faces carefully. She wonders, who are these people? Lilia storms into the room and throws accusations like knives. She accuses Rubertria of faking a suicide scare just to get attention. The man beside her, who looks like Lilia's male twin, adds salt to the wound. He says she's lucky to be alive. If it were him, he'd rather be dead than live as her. Juliet, now trapped in Rubertria's body, takes it all in. It's clear. They hate this girl. Rubertria was buried by everyone around her, but one thing is clear now. Even if she's living her life, Juliet won't take trash from anyone. Not anymore. The door shuts and the maid tries to speak, but our girl cuts in and asks if her name is Rebecca. She tells her to step out for a moment. This dream is getting way too weird. She just needs to wake up. Rebecca nods nervously and steps out, telling her to rest well. Left alone, our main girl sits on the bed and sighs. She tells herself it's fine. When she wakes up, this will all be over. But soon the sky turns dark. The sun's gone and she's still stuck. This is driving her nuts. Then suddenly, a strange purple shadow rock lands at her feet and starts shifting. Her eyes widen and she screams out for divine help. The shadow takes human form. She panics and starts throwing everything she can grab. The figure tells her to calm down and not freak out. He even calls her Juliet Karenina. That makes her stop. How does he know that name? She yells back, asking how she's supposed to calm down after seeing something like that. The figure changes form again. Now he's a brown-haired boy with blue eyes. He says maybe this one is easier for her to handle. It's Rubertria's favorite face. She stares. He changed again? She wonders if that's the original Rubertria's type. then admits she likes someone more mature, built with a strong presence. That's her style. The figure shifts again, now appearing as a tall, white-haired man. He asks if this one's more to her taste. She immediately recognizes him. Van Lashma Deckard, the Crown Prince. Known as the Empire's most handsome man. She's stunned. Yeah, this face is definitely her type, but then she narrows her eyes. Who is this guy, really? He called her Juliet Karenina. He knows who she is, so she asks him straight, did he bring her here? Our girl stares at the glowing white-haired man with wide eyes. He called her Juliet Karenina, her real name. She asks him how he knows that. Did he bring her here? The man nods and says yes. His name is Wishet. He's Rubertria's spirit servant. Juliet frowns. A spirit? Like some kind of magic? Fine then. If he's got powers, he should hurry up and send her back. Wishet breaks into a nervous sweat and says that's not possible. He grips her forearms and tells her she can't go back. She can't live as Juliet Karenina anymore. She demands an explanation. He tells her to calm down and listen. The Diorlos family she now belongs to has the power to control spirits. Each spirit has a unique ability. He's the spirit of wishes. Juliet stiffens. No way. Did Rubertria use a wish to switch bodies with her? Wishet meets her gaze and says yes. Juliet grabs her head and curses, asking if he's joking. He tries to calm her, but it only makes her more furious. She's stuck in a stranger's body and was instantly mocked by snobs the second she woke up. Wishet says he understands her frustration, but he had no choice. He had to obey Rubertria. She was his master. Juliet snaps. That doesn't make it okay. She had her own life, and now some random girl just steals it like it's hers to take? She clenches her fists as her anger builds. She demands to know how Wishet even knows about her when this isn't Earth. Then it clicks. Rubertria's wish. Wishet explains that Rubertria wished to live the life of a perfect person. Out of all the lives across all the worlds, she chose Juliet's. Juliet is furious. A wish-granting spirit, and that's what she uses it on? She could have wished for anything, but she took her life. Juliet throws a tantrum, shouting that this isn't fair, that this fate was never meant for her. Wishet touches her shoulder and pleads for a chance to explain everything. He says this all starts with Rubertria's story. The girl had suffered for 45 years, completely oppressed. Just before dying from a terminal illness, she made her first wish, to live her life over again. She used one of her 3 wishes for that. Juliet is speechless. He adds that they're now in the past, 30 years ago when Rubertria was 15 and first met him. But the body is still the same? Juliet scoffs. She didn't wish to lose weight or something? Wishet tells her there were only 3 wishes. Rubertria didn't use one to lose weight. She chose to do that on her own. He asks if she wants proof. Juliet nods. Wishet snaps his fingers and a diary falls into her hands. She opens it. The first entry reads, Imperial Year 1519, January 1st. It's the new year, and from today, she'll only eat 1 meal a day. This year, she'll get slim, and Kedric will ask her to dance. Another entry, March 24th, she caved again, but the macarons from Francois' shop were too good to resist. April 4th, she ran for 30 minutes, but still didn't lose weight. May 6th, she swears this is the last day she eats. If she eats again tomorrow, she's not even human. May 7th, she eats again. She writes that she's not even human. Juliet closes the book with a long sigh, sweat trickling down her cheek. She tosses it aside and scoffs. Rubertria turned back time to live her life better, but couldn't lose weight because she had no self-control. And then she used her second wish to peek into Juliet's life like it was some fantasy drama. Wishet smiles and says bingo. Juliet's face darkens. Bingo? He dares to say bingo? He says he pitied Rubertria. Juliet explodes, asking if pity makes it okay to steal her life. He dares do something this low and expects sympathy? Wishet flinches and stays silent. Juliet grabs his collar and demands answers. She doesn't care about Rubertria's life. As far as she's concerned, the redhead is just a thief. Wishet finally stops her and says it was the third and final wish that swapped their bodies. Rubertria's body had only 10 minutes left to live. Juliet freezes. 10 minutes? Wishet calmly asks if she forgot her last memory as Juliet. How it ended. Juliet blinks. End? What does he mean by end? Wishet raises his hand and shows her. She sees her last moments as Juliet. She's on the phone with her manager. He reassures her that Rubertria will figure things out and asks if she's okay. He tells her that the fans of the actor she was rumored with are going crazy. Juliet brushes it off, says she's fine. She's being blackmailed for something that never even happened. It's ridiculous. The manager warns her to be careful, lock her doors, stay safe. Juliet replies with a tired goodnight. Then she falls asleep. Later, cold air wakes her up. Her eyes flutter open. A hooded figure is standing at her bedside, holding a knife. Their eyes are wild. They shout, asking who she thinks she is. How dare she get close to their Taman Appa? They scream that she should die and never touch him again. Then they stab her. Back in the present, Juliet is frozen. She realizes it now. She was about to die. And Rubertria used that moment to switch bodies with her. Wishet tells her there's something he wants to show her. The real reason Rubertria used her last wish, even though she knew she was dying. He says she should see it with her own eyes and decide for herself. After he told Rubertria about Juliet, she would watch her life through the pond whenever she was overwhelmed. She always said she just wanted Juliet to be happy. She admired her so much. That day, too, Rubertria was being bullied by the twins and Kedric again, so she went back to the pond. She looked at her reflection and whispered that she couldn't swim. If she fell in, she could die, right? Then suddenly she saw something in the water, Juliet, covered in blood and crying. Rubertria shouted in shock and immediately called for Wishet. She said she wanted to make her final wish. She wanted to save Juliet. But Wishet told her it was impossible. Juliet was fated to die in that world. He couldn't interfere with fate. Rubertria begged him to turn back time in that world, just a little, to warn her. He said he couldn't mess with the causality there. She asked if that meant Juliet just had to die like that. Rubertria refused to accept it. Juliet had worked so hard for her life she earned everything with blood and tears. She shined. Unlike her. It wasn't fair. She grabbed his shirt and asked again. Juliet would still die as long as he didn't interfere, right? Then she told him to switch their souls. If Juliet couldn't be saved, she'd die in her place. Wishet told her she wasn't thinking straight, but she ordered him to do it anyway. Juliet was valuable, strong, someone who gave her courage just by existing. She had watched Juliet from afar for a long time. She thanked her deeply. Back in the present, Juliet lowers her head in shame and apologizes for yelling at Wishet. He tells her it's fine, he understands. She quietly asks him for a moment to cry. Later, he gently asks if she's done. She nods. He asks her what she wants to do now. Rubertria's life was still painful, even after turning back time. She even considered ending it again. But Wishet says if it's Juliet, she'll manage. She's strong. She'll be able to handle things. He tells her she can use him now, too. She's allowed to make 3 wishes. Juliet looks up, shocked. Rubertria's wishes are already gone. How can she? Wishet explains that while her soul is new, the spirit contract remains with the body. That makes her a new master. It's a loophole. Juliet breaks a sweat and asks if it's really okay to be this lenient. Juliet says she's not complaining, but she's making a wish right now. Wishet smirks and tells her to wish to be slim. She explodes, asking if he's lost his mind. Why would she waste one of her 3 wishes on something like that? He tilts his head and asks if she wouldn't. She tells him no way. She's an actress. She's managed her body her whole life. Dieting and workouts are nothing to her. Wishet nods and asks what she'll wish for instead. Juliet says her first wish is to remember Rubertria's entire life. All her memories, knowledge, emotions, everything she ever saw, heard, or felt. Wishet hesitates. He warns her, once she takes in Rubertria's memories, it'll be like becoming her. Every part of her life will sink into Juliet's mind. Can she really handle it? Juliet answers without doubt. She's already in Rubertria's body. The girl even gave up her life for her. If it's a life like hers, she'll accept it all. Wishet frowns. He doesn't want to grant this wish. He knows the weight it carries, but he's her servant now. It's his duty. He warns her he won't give her all the memories at once. It'll overload her brain, but she'll still feel it deeply. He touches her forehead. As he said, it's going to feel like a long and deep dream. Then it begins. Juliet sees it, Rubertria's life, the pain, the loneliness, the little joys, the desperate strength, everything. When it's over, Juliet lowers her gaze. Rubertria was kind. She was brave enough to face death head-on. She couldn't even save herself, but still cared about someone else. Her choices gave Juliet a second life. Rubertria Diorlos, youngest daughter of the Diorlos family. Born with a diamond spoon in her mouth. Her lineage, wealth, and name had everything. The Diorlos family was blessed by spirits. Every member forms a spirit contract at 15. Her father holds power close to royalty. Her first brother led the family from age 14. Her second brother became deputy commander of the Imperial Knights. With a background that's strong, anyone would think she lived in luxury. But her life was full of torment. She was abused by her step-grandmother Volga and her 2 children. Her fate was to die at 45 from complications of obesity, so she begged Wishet to turn back time. But even after returning, starting over wasn't easy. The abuse crushed her growth. No one saw her talents or efforts. Then Juliet asks Wishet if she could use a wish to kill someone. He says she can, anything except raising the dead. She questions why Rubertria didn't just get rid of those monsters in her house. Wishet says maybe she was too kind-hearted. Juliet scoffs at that. Then she clutches her head in pain. A memory surfaces, Rubertria crying in Wishet's arms. He offers to grant a wish if she doesn't want to suffer anymore. Tells her it's okay to wish to be beautiful and slim. Rubertria says no. If she uses up her wishes, he'll disappear. She doesn't want to lose him. Back in the present, Juliet asks him if using all 3 wishes makes him vanish. Wishet confirms it. She then realizes Wishet was Rubertria's only friend. Now she understands why she saved her wishes. Juliet looks at him and says she's sorry. She didn't mean to take his friend away. Wishet gently tells her it wasn't her fault. It was Rubertria's wish from the beginning. He holds her hand and tells her she's not responsible. Juliet blushes and softly says Rubertria didn't die because he meant nothing. She says now she understands. Wishet explains Rubertria was just overwhelmed. Even after turning back time, she feared the same pain, the same misery. She didn't want to keep living in that cycle. Juliet wants him to see it clearly. Rubertria really did treasure him. He asks what she means. Juliet says Rubertria didn't want to be pretty to feel superior. She just wanted to be happy. She thought being pretty and slim meant happiness because they bullied her for being fat and ugly. They poisoned her mind. If she hadn't been abused, she wouldn't have hated herself. As she says this, she starts rummaging through drawers, checking under the bed, lifting items around the room. Wishet stares at her, confused. He asks what she's doing. Juliet says she's looking for snacks. She's pretty sure Rubertria hid some around here. Is this all of it? This is everything she remembers seeing. Wishet sighs and says, yeah, probably. Wishet looks at the bag of snacks and asks if she's planning to live off those. She winks and says she still needs to lose weight. The meaning flies over his head, and he tells her that sounds contradictory. She asks, what does? He says she just admitted Rubertria wanted happiness, so why care about weight? Being slim doesn't equal being happy. She agrees with him, but then he adds that if she wants to lose weight, doesn't that mean she doesn't want to live as the fat Rubertria? She groans and says that's not it. She's not denying Rubertria's body. She just wants to steer this life in a better direction. Even if looks don't define happiness, improving her health matters. He asks her why. She gives him a look and says, why does he keep asking things with obvious answers? Obesity causes too many diseases. So from today, she's starting her diet. She gathers the sweets into a bag and heads off to toss them out. She says their first step is to change the fate of dying at 45 from health complications. Juliet Karenina no longer exists. From today, she is Rubertria Diorlos. A new mindset, a new day, a new body. If you've crossed the point of no return, there's no point crying about it. From now on, she'll live as Rubertria and repay the debt she owes. She checks the wardrobe and frowns. All the dresses are hard to move in. Not a moment to waste if she wants to change this life. Should she start with custom outfits? Thankfully, Rubertria wasn't an average noble girl. It's not a stretch to say she mastered everything: politics, economics, culture, social manners, even daily newspapers. She never went to parties, but she memorized every dance. Rubertria had been preparing her whole life, and she's going to use it all. First, she'll flip the household hierarchy ruled by Volga Diorlos. Most servants were hired by Volga. They're loyal to her. The 2 older brothers, raised by her, don't even know her true face. The only one who could help is their father, Leonard, the 8th Duke of Diorlos. but he's barely alive. After losing his wife, he locked himself in his room, gave up on everything. He's like some romantic character from a tragic novel. Rubertria stayed quiet. He never looked her way. He's not a bad man, just a useless father. Juliet thinks her old self might have liked a father who just handed her a black card, but Rubertria had wanted love. Suddenly a maid rushes toward her, Rebecca. She panics and asks why she didn't call for help. Changing by herself? The doctor said she needed rest. She apologizes over and over. Juliet coughs a little, and Rebecca breaks a sweat. Still, it's nice. At least there's one person who cares. Juliet tells her it's fine and asks if they should head for breakfast. Rebecca lights up. She says she even asked the chef to make all her favorite dishes. Once they finish, she'll bring buttered buns with blueberry compote made fresh from the Camilla farm. Juliet smiles at her warmth. Rebecca was the only servant who ever stood up for Rubertria. Others looked away during the abuse, but not her. On Rubertria's 16th birthday, Rebecca even took a beating for her. We see her on her knees, holding her bruised shoulder. Rubertria hides behind her. Volga stands above them, sneering, saying how kind it is to care so deeply for her lady. She should be thankful Ricky and Lilia even celebrated her birthday. What's the fuss over a joke? And how dare the maid try to run to the Duke? Rubertria panics and says she wasn't going to tattle. Not really. 3 days. That's how long Rebecca was locked in a room without treatment. When Volga finally dragged her out, she was already dead. Rubertria had been begging like a dog, unaware the maid she loved was already gone. Her eyes widened at the lifeless body on the floor. Volga placed a cold hand on her shoulder and told her if she didn't want others dying for no reason, she better behave. The young girl broke down, truly believing Rebecca died because of her. In the present, Rebecca notices the dark look on Juliet's face. She gently asks if she's okay. If she doesn't feel like eating in the room, what about chocolate cake with macarons? Juliet quickly says no, a meal is fine. Let's go see what food you asked the chef for. At the dining room door, Rebecca opens it and gestures her in. Juliet tilts her head. The food is extravagant, from land, sea, and even air. She thanks her, but says she'll just eat the chicken dish. Then she turns and asks if Rebecca would like to eat with her. Rebecca looks shocked. Juliet says she doesn't have clothes yet, so she can't work out today, but from tomorrow she'll do a morning fasted workout. Rebecca blinks and asks what. Juliet calmly sits down and says breakfast after her workout will be an apple and oatmeal. Lunch will be at 1 p.m., regular meal from the dining hall, no seasoning. Speaking of clothes, can she also schedule a tailor visit for this evening? She needs outfits she can move in. She's said everything she needs to say. Now, will she join her for the meal? Rebecca is stunned by her words. Then she softly smiles and says, "Yes, miss." The 3rd floor of the mansion. A gloomy, cold hallway leads to a giant door that looks like it's never been opened. Behind it is the room of the Duke of Diorlos, her father. As she walks up, a man in a black suit blocks her path, the old head butler, the man who managed the house for years beside the Duke. He asks why she's here so early. She says she came to see her father. He smirks and reminds her the lady of the house isn't present. When she returns from her rest, then she may visit. By lady of the house, he means Volga. Until now, Rubertria could never see her father without Volga's permission. A daughter who's secretly abused, daring to visit the Duke, that was forbidden. But the lady isn't here. This is her chance. She says it's strange. A noble daughter can't even see her father's face, and an old servant dares tell her what to do. He takes offense and asks her to repeat herself. She says that as a servant, he should remember his place if he wants to keep working and eating in this house. Understood? She steps closer. He asks what she's doing. She tells him again. Open the door. How many times must she say it? He looks shaken. She laughs. This old raccoon stood by while she was abused. And worse, with Volga's trust, he silenced the other servants and blocked her from her brothers. He helped isolate her. Now he calls her unstable, saying after her suicide attempt, she's lost her mind. When Volga returns, she'll re-educate her on proper manners. Until then, she should quietly stay in her room and reflect. His words sting. Lady of the house, manners, educate, reflect. He's mocking her. Rubert knew what Volga's so-called education meant. She then says he's right. She has lost her mind. What a relief. She walks past him and kicks the Duke's door. The butler panics and tries to stop her. She says she'll tell her father personally that the butler is hard of hearing and unfit to serve in the Duke's house. The butler calls this an atrocity and addresses her as Miss, but before things can go further, a red-haired man approaches. He asks what's going on. She smiles and calls him father. She says she has something to tell him. The butler tries to interfere, saying it's nothing serious, just a small matter, and that he'll handle it. She says no. She wants to tell him directly. The butler protests again, but the Duke snaps at him to be quiet. His head is pounding. He tells her to come in. The butler looks crushed. Inside the room, she can barely see anything. Her father lights a candle and asks what she wanted to say. She looks at him and thinks that she already knew it, but he's really a wreck. He smells of alcohol and cigarettes. It's bad. There's so much wrong, but knowing why he's like this, she can't get mad for no reason. He's drowning in sorrow over his wife. That grief, soaked in alcohol and smoke, kills him young at 39. Now he's 36. That gives her just 3 years. He needs to stop smoking. She moves to the window and pulls the curtains open. Sunlight pours into the dark room. She wonders how long he's lived without seeing the sun. He glares at her as the light fills the room. She tells herself to stay calm. She asks him how long he's planning to keep living like this. He asks what she means. She tells him to get it together and live properly. She places her hands on her waist and glares at her father, asking if this is really how he's going to talk to his daughter. At the very least, he should clear away those bottles. He breaks into a sweat and quickly puts them away. She smiles, satisfied, and asks if he's had a meal. He asks if that's what she came to talk about. She says not exactly, but isn't it normal for a daughter to ask her father that? He agrees and wonders if his daughter was always like this. He crosses his arms and says he hasn't eaten yet. She slams her hand on the table and points out that he drank 6 bottles on an empty stomach. He looks away and says it's not like that, he just didn't clean them up. He woke up not long ago and only drank half a bottle. She thinks that's an excuse. He breaks into a cold sweat and looks like a sulking child. She asks if he can try drinking less. She knows she can't ask him to quit right away, but drinking like this will catch up to him. He should call the doctor today for a checkup. She'll come back tomorrow and check if he did. She makes him promise. He rubs his face and says he'll handle it. Then he asks what her real business is. She says before that, there's something she needs to tell him about the head butler. He listens. She says that earlier, she tried to come see him, but the butler told her to go back. Did her father tell him not to let her in? He says no, he never gave such an order. The butler's been acting out of line. She says she thought so. Actually, about a month ago, she was very sick. She needed a doctor early in the morning and woke him up, but he told her to sleep and call one the next day. She was in pain but stayed quiet. The next day, he still didn't call the doctor. When she asked again, he called her troublesome. It's not the first time. He's ignored her many times. Is she wrong? She thinks to herself that this part is actually true. Rupert went through it, not her. But if there's one thing Juliet was good at, it was acting, especially emotional acting. Her father rubs his head and says he must be getting old. He'll talk to Diego about replacing the butler. She smiles and thinks that her acting skills are still sharp. But then she reminds him that managing the servants is under Grandma Volga, not Diego. He looks annoyed and says so he'll have to talk to Volga instead. She says Volga trusts the butler and won't let him go. He wonders why Diego's duty is being handled by Volga. Then he says fine, he'll take care of it separately. Then he asks what the main issue is. She asks him if he could lend her some money. He repeats money. She says yes, she needs about 300 million bark. In Korean won, it's around 300 million. With the family's wealth, it's not too much to ask. He asks if she just wants pocket money. She says no, she wants a loan. She'll pay it back. If he gives her a credit certificate in his name, she can get the money from the bank. He asks why. He tells her she can just ask Diego for money since their finances cover her maintenance. She says if she does that, she'll have to explain everything and she doesn't plan to waste it, but her brother would still be displeased. He says it's not even a large amount and Diego wouldn't mind. She says he might not know, but she and Diego aren't close, and if she borrows from him, Grandma Volga will definitely get involved. It's just too much of a hassle to use family money, so he should let her use his name. She'll repay the bank with interest. He gets up, signs a check, and hands it to her. It's just his signature on a blank sheet, basically a blank check. She smiles and thanks him. He tells her that if she's not comfortable using her own name, she can always use his and she doesn't need to repay it. She says she will. She's grown up and it's time to be independent. He sighs and says it's ridiculous to hear that from a 15-year-old. She's still young and needs her parents' support. She says even so, does he really take care of her? She almost drowned in the garden pond recently, did he even know? She turns and walks away. He reaches for her and asks what she means. She says she fell on purpose to die. His eyes widen. Then she laughs and says, just kidding, it was an accident. She says goodbye and walks to the door. He calls out asking her to wait. She says she used to resent her cold and indifferent father, but she's trying to understand him because she's his daughter. She doesn't have memories of her mom, but he does. He's probably been so broken that he couldn't care for a daughter who needed attention. So just like he's always been, he can continue to live without caring whether she lives or dies. She won't expect anything. She'll take care of herself now. Then she leaves the room. As she walks through the corridor, she thinks Rupert might have wished her father would be okay. But she's different. She's angry. She wants everyone to know how much pain she carried. She'll make those who deserve regret and punishment pay. For herself, she'll do her best. The Duke sits alone, thinking about his life. Diego was handling the dukedom, Victor joined the Imperial Knights, and Rupert, who looked like her late mother, seemed fine at home. None of them complained. He barely saw them, but they looked okay. He says he's tired. He reaches for a drink, then remembers his daughter asking him to drink less. He stops. He drops on the bed and sighs. He says Melusian. A spirit appears and asks if he called her. He says to show him the dream he always sees. She agrees and says she'll show him what he longs for. That dream is always the same, the smile of his wife, her gentle voice, the woman he lost. Meanwhile, our girl walks down the hall with Wishet. He asks why she didn't tell her father about Volga Diorlos. She stays silent. He calls her name again and asks if she's ignoring him. He blocks her path and they glare at each other. Two maids nearby watch. One asks why the young lady is acting like that. The other says to ignore it and keep moving. She thinks it's good Wishet isn't visible. Back in her room, she summons him and tells him not to talk to her in front of people. He asks why. She says what if she accidentally answers? He knows the danger too. If anyone finds out she made a contract with a spirit, especially a wish-granting one like Wishet, she'll be executed. Everyone believes she's the only one without a contract, and it has to stay that way. Wishet is a dangerous spirit. Then she says he's wondering why she didn't mention Volga, right? It's simple. Volga has the real power in the house and is known as an angel. After Mom died, she took care of all 3 kids, though not Rupert. She focused on the 2 brothers. Diego supports Volga. Most of the servants are loyal to her. So why would she suddenly accuse Volga of abuse? Her father won't believe it. He'll think she's just being childish. But the butler is different. Wishet rubs his chin and says it makes sense, so she only talked about her condition. She grins and says exactly. Then he asks why she borrowed money from the Duke. What's her real plan? She says she's funding a business. She wants to earn money and be free from this cursed house. She'll build a happy life for Rupert. Being jobless isn't happiness. Wishet laughs and asks who calls a noble lady jobless. She says by her standard, the Duke's daughter is not a real job. This is a full launch, a new clothing brand. She has to use her fashion major. Even if she borrowed from her father, she now has money and a designer with real skills. She'll pitch her project to the tailor she's meeting tonight. And what's left? Wishet repeats the question. She says a model. She already has someone in mind for the female role, but for the male model, the crown prince. Wishet sweats and says no way. She sits on her bed and asks why not. She thinks she can convince him. The only problem is meeting him. Wishet suggests using her second brother. He heard he's always with the crown prince as an imperial knight. She pauses and thinks, oh right, she has a second brother. A crowd watches a sword match. Someone says they're good. Another says really good. A third says amazing. Some ladies even walk by just to peek. Maybe the knights are trying harder because of that. Then someone announces the Knight of the Month popularity rankings. Lark van Lashman Deckard wins. Lark, covered in sweat, presses his sword to Victor's neck and grins. He says that makes it 26 wins, 2 draws, 25 losses. He beat Sir Victor Diorlos. Victor admits he can't beat His Highness. Lark asks if they can rest together for a bit. Victor looks surprised. They sit under a tree. Lark says since he won, he hopes Victor won't forget their wager. It's been a while since he tried that hard to win. Victor nods and says a bet is a bet. Of course he remembers, but what could His Highness possibly want from him? Lark says noble meetings have been tough lately. They keep asking when he'll get married. Victor laughs and says he is a bit late for that. Why not just get married then? Lark says he can't just bring in anyone. Victor jokes that he's waiting for true love. Lark says they should skip childish talk. Victor agrees. He thinks that's more like the Crown Prince. Lark van Lashman Deckard, known as the most perfect heir in history. He founded imperial studies at 10, excelled in politics, economics, and diplomacy. At 13, he secured friendly ties with the Kingdom of Love, a trade hub. Thanks to his land spirit, any battlefield turns to his favor. He is a soldier, a ruler, and always met the Empire's expectations, even to his grave, all under a veil of solitude. Victor thinks he's a dull man, and now this dull man brings up marriage. Victor asks if he means he wants an introduction to one of his 3 younger sisters. Lark laughs and says he loves how quick-witted he is. He says he can no longer officially have a crown princess. Lately, things around Nathan have been tense. Victor asks if he means the second prince, then asks why he needs his help specifically. If it's Lilia, she goes to noble parties all the time. It wouldn't be hard to meet her. Lark asks if he can trust him with that. Victor sweats and says pardon. Lark says Lady Lilia is his aunt. He's talking about his younger sister. Victor shouts her name. Lark asks if there's a problem. Our girl speaks to her spirit and asks if there's a problem with her plan. This is Operation. Cast the current crown prince as a model. Team leader, once Juliet, now Rubertria. Team member, Wishet, spirit of wishes, currently taking the crown prince's form. Wishet says there is a problem. He asks her if the owner of a random clothing shop came to her asking to be their model. Would she do it? She says if the conditions are right and it's profitable. He agrees that might work, but the crown prince doesn't need money. She tells him not to worry about that. Rubertria remembers that the crown prince only cares about the empire's prosperity. He's always overwhelming when they meet. Wishet says that's why he'd definitely refuse her model offer. She says she's not just going to pay him or ask for sponsorship. Does she look like someone who wouldn't plan deeper than that? He asks what her method is. She says since the crown prince already has everything, offering him something useful to the empire seems like the smart move. But she has nothing like that right now. However, what if she saves his life? Wishet looks stunned and asks if she's planning to use her future memories. She says, yeah, not bad, right? Save the crown prince and get a model, 2 birds with 1 stone. She knows the future. In Rubertria's memories, second prince Nathan assassinates the crown prince. But he must survive, for her and for the country, because Nathan becomes a tyrant. He destroys everything. She won't miss the chance to protect a wise and handsome ruler. The Deckard Empire is blessed by spirits and has 2 chosen bloodlines, the royal family known as the Deckards and the duke family known as the Diorlos. Spirit mages are only born from these 2 families, and they are marked with golden eyes, a symbol of power. Every spirit mage forms a contract with a spirit on their 15th birthday without fail. Only Rubert didn't make a known contract, making her an exception. Throughout history, spirit mages have always held great power, so both families tried to have many children to increase the chances of spirit mage births. The emperor was expected to have several wives, which led to dozens of children in the imperial family. As a result, the Deckard royal household became a chaotic mess. First Prince of Deckard III was executed. Deckard IV's 6th wife died mysteriously. Deckard V's 11th princess and 31st prince were assassinated during spirit mage selection. With only 1 emperor's seat and so many children, siblings were willing to kill each other for the throne. Second Prince Nathan van Lishmar, Deckard, was one of them. Our girl remembers that the Crown Prince dies before her 16th birthday. Less than a year left. Time is tight. A knock on the door, Rebecca enters and says the tailor has arrived. Our girl welcomes the guest and her spirit disappears. The tailor is a short-haired woman with glasses named Becky. She greets our girl and asks how she's been. Our girl smiles and says she's doing well, thanks to Becky's perfectly fitting clothes. Becky asks why she's been called, since it hasn't been long since she made a dress. Our girl says it's not about the dress today and invites her to sit because there's a lot to talk about. Time has passed, and she's now fully used to Rubert's body, but there wasn't much to adapt to. All 45 years of memories and senses already feel like her own. She is Rubertria now. We see her jogging and thinking that things are different now. At the door, a maid stands ready with towels and tells her she did a great job today. The air must have felt nice. Juliet smiles and agrees. First change, she's been keeping up her exercise routine for 4 days straight. Two maids nearby whisper that she used to stay indoors all the time, but now she's out and about. One of them says it's because after falling into the pond, she completely changed. They say she even slapped Lord Ricky. Second change, she's no longer living like a shut-in. But one of the maids asks, was she always this close with the Duke? Rumors are spreading that even the butler's dismissal was ordered by Lady Rubertria. One maid says, if that's true, there'll be trouble when the Grand Lady returns and finds Rubertria walking around the mansion so freely. The final change is now 2 meals a day. For 4 days straight, she's been having breakfast and lunch with her father. It's her emergency plan to rescue the Duke, who's drowning in alcohol and cigarettes. While eating, the Duke casually asks what she's been working on. She tells him she's drawing. He asks what kind of drawing. She asks if he really wants to know or if he's just asking out of politeness. He breaks a sweat and says it's all right, then asks why she keeps eating with him every day even after he told her not to worry. She says she doesn't need his attention, but it's not like she's not interested in him either. She tells him to please eat properly. The Duke thinks to himself that ever since Rubertria started joining him, his room feels different. He sighs and says the doctor said he's fine but asks how much longer he has to stay off alcohol. She agrees and says she thought something was wrong too. But now she's puzzled. Whether the doctor checks or she does, he seems very healthy. In her memory, it was alcohol that ruined his body. Then a servant walks in and says the madam has returned. Rubertria freezes and bites her lip. She wonders why this is happening now. Suddenly, she starts hearing Volga's voice echoing in her head. She remembers everything she used to say, that she's too direct. She's not fit for the family name. All the lords and even her father are embarrassed by her, that everyone hates her. Rubertria hugs herself tightly as the insecurities come flooding in. She starts to sweat and says it's fine. It's all in the past. She won't let the old memories get to her. Then Volga's voice says the cruelest thing, that she killed her own mother, that her father would never find her pretty, that she should never have been born. And that she should stop disgracing the family like a dead mouse. Our girl wonders if her father hates her, if he sees her as a disgrace, if he even accepts her as his daughter. Next, she's seen sobbing at his feet, telling him she knows he dislikes her. She pleads with him to just accept her, just until she gets better like the Prime Minister. Leonard looks shocked as he hugs her tightly. The maids gasp as the Duke carries his daughter down the corridor. One of them asks if His Excellency just came out of the room. Another whispers about the lady's strange state. Volga appears and demands to know what's going on. The Duke calmly says his daughter is unwell and he's taking her to the doctor. Greetings can wait. The grandmother insists he return to his room, calling herself someone who finds it hard to leave her space. Then she snaps at the maids for standing around, but the Duke cuts her off, says he'll handle it, tells her to go cleanse herself, then walks away while she fumes, asking what on earth is happening. Next, the Duke sits with the family doctor, Aaron Mueller, his personal physician. The doctor says it appears to be a psychological trauma disorder. The Duke is stunned. He asks what nonsense that is. Aaron explains that it usually comes from something shocking or frightening. patients relive painful emotions, sometimes in dreams or triggered moments. The Duke asks what could have happened to a child who just lived quietly at home. Aaron says he doesn't know her full story, but cases like this often come from childhood abuse, physical or emotional. He asks if the lady seems overly sensitive, if she suddenly lashes out or says she feels abandoned. Leonard remembers how his daughter spoke before and admits it's true. He asks if there's any treatment. Aaron says medication won't help much. What's needed is her own strength and support from the people around her. The Duke doesn't understand and asks, "What do you mean by that?" The doctor says, first of all, the lady's treatment with warm words and a caring attitude would be essential. Then he asks if His Excellency can use his abilities. Leo blinks and says, "If it's my abilities? Do you mean illusions?" The doctor nods and explains that if she keeps holding on to painful memories, her mental state won't improve. But if an illusion can cover up the bad ones, it might help Lady Rubertria too. Leo starts to sweat and asks, "What kind of illusion should I show?" The doctor winks and says, "His Excellency would know best. After all, you're her father." Then he bows and quietly leaves. Leo sits by his sleeping daughter and wonders if this would really help. Wouldn't it feel fake? Wouldn't she feel empty when she wakes up? Then tears fall from his eyes as he remembers Lona. He no longer longs for her, because he has already let go. The child before him is not her. She's here. She's different. He clenches the sheets and whispers the words, "Harmonious family." He says he can make it real, even if it's an illusion. Then he calls out his spirit. He says it looks like his daughter is having a nightmare, tells it to let her dream something warm. The spirit asks, "What kind of dream should I make her dream?" Leo answers, "Being with me, eating together, going out together, and that kid throwing tantrums at me as much as she wants. That kind of dream." After Leonard leaves the room, his spirit meets his daughter's spirit. They exchange greetings and talk about how exhausting it is working for this family. Leonard's spirit tells Wishart to spend more time with the young lady and encourages her to help. The illusion spirit watches how serious Wishart looks. Wishart helps and says this spirit fragment is poisoned, yet responsible, confident, and kind. But with such instability, can they let her go without breaking more? This time, they need to reset Wishart. He tells her to stop talking. She laughs and calls Wishart their king. We see Volga speaking with her children. She asks if people are saying the girl changed after falling into the pond and surviving. Ricky says yes and adds that he's still hurt. He wants her to scold that woman and make her apologize. Volga is surprised the girl slapped Ricky. She wonders what's going on. There was always distance between the Duke and his daughter. She thought he hated her. Her education was going well so far. She paces the room and says it's difficult, really difficult. She asks if Ricky worked sincerely while she was away. He says yes. She thinks Rupert opened her mouth, but why now? A timid girl who couldn't even pout. Why the change? No, it doesn't matter. There's no proof of abuse. Even if the girl claims she was mistreated, the Duke can't question her without evidence. None of the staff were bought, and Diego still trusts her. If that woman goes crazy, it's all over. But that's how it is. She remembers how Leonard dismissed her. She thinks he never used to care about the household, but now he's different. This man who knows very well that she raised his children, how dare he treat her like that? He should at least act thankful. She clenches her fists and says, "Okay." She tells the children to be careful from now on. Avoid Rupert if they can. Don't pick on anyone. Act properly in front of the staff. Try to find out how the girl changed, but do it quietly. She adds that she'll be a bit busy from now on, so she won't be around. The children ask, "What do you mean, Mother?" Rick shouts that they shouldn't get involved, but that girl slapped his cheek. Isn't she going to scold her? Volga snaps at him and says, when his mother speaks, he should answer with respect. Why is he talking back? She says it clearly. If it weren't for her, how could he have lived grumbling in this house? The boy quickly apologizes while his sister tries to calm their mother down. Volga sighs and tells them to just bear it a little longer. Their 15th birthday is only a year away now, right? As promised with their mother, once they choose an heir to the spirit's lineage, they can do as they please. In the Master's Fountain, there are countless spirits, all with desirable powers. But they must not be deceived. They are only allowed to make a pact with the one she told them about. Lilia smiles and says, "She'll definitely find it, Mother." Ricky hesitates and asks, what if a spirit doesn't choose him, like what happened with Rubertria? Volga tells him that he and Lilia are different. There's no reason a spirit won't choose them. Even if they don't have red hair, they carry Did's blood, so they'll be able to find it. The wish spirit. Our girl wakes up angry, and the first thing she says is, "No, why would she dream of something like that?" Her spirit asks what kind of dream she had. She says she dreamed of going on an outing with her dad. He knew she was on a diet, but still ordered a full course of lamb at a restaurant. She even finished the dessert without leaving a trace. The portions were almost too much to handle. Her spirit says it sounds like a good dream. She says thinking about how she ate so much makes her spine chill, and it's lucky it was just a dream. She pouts and says that after laughing and having meals with her dad in the dream, they even went flower viewing and watched a play. She must have thrown a tantrum or something, because he gave her a look he'd never give in real life and told her it was okay. It was embarrassing. But it felt like the reality her true self actually wanted. It's ridiculous, but she feels a lot better now. Then she says, "By the way, Wish-It, I'm sorry." He asks, "Sorry for what?" She says that, despite telling him not to worry, she showed herself to be too weak. She didn't know just hearing that woman's name would trigger such a strong reaction in her body. He walks over and pats her head. She swats his hand away and asks what he's doing. He tells her he expected this from the moment she absorbed Rubert's memories. She should calm her mind and stop apologizing for things like this. She says okay, then she thinks she should stop there for now. Come to think of it, she made a whole fuss with her dad for no reason. Did she really cling to him, asking for a hug? She might die of embarrassment. She tries to stop thinking, but the memory keeps coming back. Then the door bursts open, but it's not her dad. It's Diego, her older brother. He straightens up and says she looks okay. She says, "No, I'm not." But he cuts her off and says they should go out together. She wonders why all of a sudden. Her spirit tells her the Duke must have been worried because he picked her up after she fainted and called the doctor. She says, "So what? He didn't have to remind me of that embarrassing moment." Diego is the eldest brother, and she has a neutral relationship with him. He felt grateful toward their grandmother for raising them in place of their mother. He believed in her kind face his whole life and always obeyed her. He cherished the twins and did anything she asked. It's not that she doesn't understand how he feels. He believed that while Volga cared for them, her own kids got less love. But the reason she couldn't speak up about her abuse was also because of Diego. He was the woman's strongest shield. How to break that is now her task. Then her spirit says the woman has been unusually quiet. He thought she would have come running by now. She agrees and says she doesn't know if the woman is plotting something, but for now, it's not a bad thing for her. Honestly, she finds it hard to face her because of the trauma. First, she needs to do what she can now, and today she'll start with model casting. Next, we see her telling her dad that he'll have lunch alone today. He asks her why. She didn't expect him to be curious, so she quickly says she's going to see a play in the city. He asks what play. She tries to explain, saying she's not going anywhere strange, then asks if he'd like to see it too. It stars Sarah Hugo, a popular actress in the capital these days. She's a fan and wants to see her to lift her spirits. He looks at her, and she realizes he doesn't mention anything about yesterday. She's grateful because if he had asked, she wouldn't have been able to avoid talking about Volga. Then, after looking at the card of the show, he tells her they should go together. She turns pale at his sudden decision. He asks if she doesn't want to go. She says it's not that. Then she thinks, her father of all people going out? A man who lives like a mole inside his room? She quickly says it sounds good. Then she thinks that her dad coming along actually helps with her plan, and it's a good first step for him to start living more like a normal person. She then says she gets to choose the lunch menu. He says no greens. She says she needs to lose weight so she can't have anything else. He tells her she's lost half her weight in a week, though. She smiles and agrees. Just for today. Just for today, she'll eat something different. and he should please buy her something delicious. Then the father and daughter stroll out together. If you're just as hooked as we are and can't wait to find out what happens next, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment below asking for part 2 and let us know your favorite moments so far. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you're the first to know when the next episode drops. See you in part 2. Ciao for now.